Nirada Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai. 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 Haribo. That helps, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Shrimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 29th chapter, talks between Narada and King Prachinabhari, text number 6.
Четем от Шримад Бхагаватам, 4-та песен, 29 глава. Разговорите между Нарада Муни и цар Прачинабархи. Текст 6.
Sakaya Indriya Gana Jnanam Karma Chayat Kritam
Jnanam Karma Chayat Kritam
Sakyastad Vritaya Prana
Sakyastad Vritaya Prana
Panchavritir Yathoraga
Panchavritir Yadoraga
Sakayaha,
Sakaya.
the male friends. Indriya Ganaha,
Indriya Ganaha.
the senses. Jnanam,
Jnanam.
knowledge. Karma,
Karma.
activity.
Activity. Дейност.
Cha,
Cha.
also.
Also.
Yat Kritam,
Yat Kritam.
done by the senses. Sakyaha,
Sakyaha.
female friends.
Female friends.
Tat,
Tat.
of the senses.
Have the senses.
Vritaya,
Vittaya.
engagements.
Engagement.
Pranaha,
Pranaha.
life air. Panchavriti,
Panchavritti.
having 5 processes. Yata,
Yata.
like. Uraga,
Uraga.
the serpent. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The 5 working senses and the 5 senses that acquire knowledge are all male friends of Puranjani. The living entity is assisted by these senses in acquiring knowledge and engaging in activity. The engagements of the senses are known as girlfriends, and the serpent, which was described as having 5 heads, is the life air acting within the 5 circulatory processes.
Приятелите на Пуранджани са олицетворение на 5 деятелни и 5 познавателни сетива. С тяхна помощ живото същество действа и придобива необходимата информация. А приятелките на Пуранджани са символ на заниманията на сетивата. 5 главата змия пък е жизненият въздух, представен в тялото от 5 въздушни потока. Коментар. В Премави Варта се казва: Кришна Бахир Мукахана Богаван Чакаре Никатаста Майя Таре Джапатия Дхаре. Заради желанието си да се наслаждава на материалния свят, живото същество получава грубо и финно материално тяло. Така то се здобива с възможност да извлича наслада от сетивата си. С други думи, сетивата са инструменти, с чиято помощ живото същество се наслаждава на материалния свят. Затова тук те са наречени негови приятели. Понякога, ако извършва прекалено много греховни дела, живото същество не получава грубо материално тяло, а остава да блуждае в финното си тяло. Това е съществуването на призраците. Живото същество, което не притежава осезаемо тяло, с финното си тяло причинява много неприятности на околните. Затова въплатените изпитват ужас от призраците. Във връзка с това в Бхагават-гита 15.10 се казва: Уткрамантам ститам ваапи бунджанам ваагунан витам вимуда нанопашянти пашянти гяна чакшуша. Глупаците не разбират как живото същество напуска своето тяло, нито могат да разберат на какво тяло се наслаждава то под влияние на гундите на природата. Но човек, който гледа с очите на знанието, е способен да види всичко това. Живото същество плува в жизнения въздух, който циркулира из тялото, изпълнявайки различни функции. Жизненият въздух действа като прана, апана, удана, вяна и самана. И тъй като изпълнява тези 5 функции, е сравняван с 5 глава змия. Душата минава през кундалини чакра до сущ, като пълзяща змия. И така, жизненият въздух е сравнен с сурага, змия, а панчаврити е желанието да бъдат задоволени сетивата, които изпитват влечение към 5 сетивни обекта: форма, вкус, звук, мирис и допир.
Om Agyanatimirandasya Giranjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmlitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gidamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Syadvaiti Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadamham vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyeshwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'll try to speak as you speak, because here everybody speaks English, so I'll just translate to these guys.
Okay, let's do it. So here the discussion between Narad Muni and King Prachina Parishad continues, and this allegory of the living entity who is trying to enjoy in this world is elaborated on. So today we're hearing about these 5 working senses and the 5 senses of acquiring knowledge, which are all friends of that living entity who is trying to enjoy in this world. Without friends, what is there to enjoy? Just like you want to enjoy anything, you got to have your friends with you. Otherwise, how much fun is it to eat alone by yourself? Not so great, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to have your friends with you. So what are these friends? These friends, they symptomize the different types of activities for acquiring knowledge, which is objects, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. And that is primarily how the living entity interacts with the world. Then of course, with the world, yeah. Then of course there are also the 5 working senses which we need in order to keep our machine going. They're the arms and legs for moving, to get something done. Then we have anus and genital for procreation and for evacuation. And then, number 5.
И петото е
Tongue for speaking. Yes, you have to communicate.
езика за говорене, трябва да комуникираш.
This is going to come up in the exam, so you have to remember.
Това нещо ще се появи в изпита, така че
Otherwise, no breakfast.
трябва да го запомните, иначе няма да има закуска.
So, and they're all friends of the living
Те всички
entity
са приятели на живото същество.
because they're helping the living entity to enjoy in this world of names.
Свят на имена.
Of course, as we heard, at some
Както
point,
чуваме,
they grow weak, they grow old, they
в
grow
един момент
deficient,
те устаряват и не могат да вършат своята работа.
and it becomes exceedingly
И става
difficult
все
just to
повече и
maintain
трудно. Само
one's
да
physical
поддържаш
body, one's
физическото
physical
тяло,
presence.
физическото присъствие.
And then
И тогава
the life airs,
жизненият дух,
which are
жизненият въздух,
compared to this
който
five-hooded
се сравнява
serpent,
с петглавата змия,
what are they? Huh?
кои са те?
They are, it's described here in the purport by Prabhupada, prana,
Prabhupada
apana,
обяснява.
udana, vyana, and samana.
Това са петте вида въздух.
So you have not just the respiratory air,
Не
but
само
these are subtle airs,
въздуха за дишане.
subtle
Това
airs
са
in the body
фините
that make
финния
things
въздух.
move,
Тялото,
make
което
things go down, make things go
кара
up,
нещата да
make
се
things.
движат, нещата да се движат надолу,
happening.
да отиват надолу, той раздвижва тялото.
We're not going to get into it.
Няма да говорим за това.
So, and the soul, the living entity,
Живото същество
is moving
се
in the
движи
body through this
тялото
Kundalini
чрез
chakra
тази
like a
Kundalini
serpent
чакра,
crawling on the
като
ground.
една змия, която пълзи по земята.
In other words,
С други думи,
you have gross matter, you have subtle
имаме
matter,
груба
and then you
материя,
have
финна
spirit.
материя и имаме дух.
And all of this is
Всичко това
mostly
е
beyond the comprehension of the foolish
Повечето от
living
него е
entity.
отвъд възприятието на глупавото живо
The
същество.
foolish living entity
Глупавото
hardly
живо
knows
същество едвам знае
how things are happening.
как се случват нещата.
They just know where things enter and exit,
Те знаят, че нещата
the
влизат
gross
и излизат,
body, but they don't
другото
really
тяло.
know
Но те
how
всъщност не знаят
anything is
как
taking place
се
in the
случват
body.
нещата вътре в тялото.
So thus, ignorance is the predominant
Невежеството е
factor.
преобладаващия фактор.
But a person,
Но
as it is stated here in this verse in the Bhagavad Gita,
Bhagavad-гita,
whose eyes are trained by knowledge, they can understand all this. They understand
той може да
how
разбере
things are taking place.
как нещата се случват.
And thus, they have a much greater chance
Много по-голям шанс
in influencing
да повлияят
their lives in such a way as to have a favorable destination in life.
приятен начин, така че да отидат на хубаво място.
So, they are
Така че
the people who
това са хората, които
know what happens,
знаят какво се случва.
who can influence it,
които
and
могат
there
да
are other
повлияят.
people who just
Има други
said,
хора,
what
които-
happened?
които казват, ай, какво стана, бе?
And it's all reactionary, which means
Те
they're not in
единствено
control,
реагират на
they're
нещата.
not aware
Означава, те не са
of how
в
things are
контрол,
taking
те
place.
не съзнават как се
And they're
случват нещата.
thinking,
Те си
actually,
мислят,
everything is
всъщност,
happening
всичко се
according
случва
to my
съгласно
own
мои
doing.
собствени дейности.
Prakrite kremanani guna karmani sarvasha ahankaravi mudhatma kartaham iti manyate. And translation? The conditioned living entity under the influence of the modes of material nature, and of course the ahankar principle thinks aham kara, aham I kara. I am the doer, I'm getting things done, I'm moving things.
Аз движа нещата, аз съм извършителят.
Yet an intelligent person knows that
Всъщност интелигентният човек знае,
we can desire,
че ние може да желаем,
we can endeavor,
може да се опитваме, да
but we're not
полагаме
the
усилия,
sanctioner.
но
We're
ние сме
not the
този,
ones
който
who actually
разрушава
make things
и
happen.
не сме човек,
That is
който прави нещата
Krishna,
да се случат. Това е Кришна,
Through his different
чрез
agents,
неговите различни
the
агенти.
demigods, they have to allow you to do
Те
things.
трябва да позволят ти да направиш нещо.
Otherwise, it's not going to
Иначе
happen.
няма да стане.
So, ignorance is the enemy, and because of
Невежеството е нашия враг
ignorance,
и заради това невежество,
the living entity
живото
tries
същество се опитва
persistently to enjoy in the
отново да се
material
наслаждава
world,
в този материален свят.
and
И
then what happens?
Какво става?
Nunam pramata kurte vikarma yad indriya pritaya aprinoti nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asana pikleshada asadeha. too much endeavor for sense gratification
усилия за стилно
makes
наслаждение
people pramata, mad.
кара хората да
They go
полудяват.
crazy,
Те
loco.
полудяват.
And thus,
И така,
they do all kinds of sinful activity.
най-различни греховни неща.
And that is very detrimental. That is very contrary to their self-interest.
Техният собствен интерес.
So, nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asana piklesha deashadeyad. So this is not the way how to live. This is not the way how to move in the world.
Това не е начинът, по който се движи в света.
And therefore, the Bhagavatam is instructing us what is a better course of action.
Кой е по-добрият начин на действие?
So, that's why in the Vedas there are restrictions.
Ограничения.
They're restricting the
Ограничават
bodily activities so that this type of sinful activity will be curbed. It will not happen. Otherwise,
иначе,
what's the course of events when a person is engaged in a lot of sinful
когато
activities?
човек се ангажира в много греховни
Sometimes they don't get the gross body and they have to live as a ghost for some time.
като призраци известно.
And thus they're feeling
Това техните чувства
anxiety and pain because they want to enjoy but they can't
Те
enjoy.
искат да се наслаждават, обаче не могат.
So then what becomes their enjoyment?
Тогава какво става тяхното наслаждение?
Not the joy, the pleasure of others, but the suffering of others, the pain of others. So they trying to cause trouble. Okay, if I can't have it, someone else has gonna have to suffer here.
Аз не мога да
And they find ways and means how to put other people into trouble, how to put them into misery.
да карат хората да страдат.
Kind of sour grapes philosophy.
Това е философията на киселото грозде.
You know that one, right?
Знаете
No.
тази философия.
The little fox, he's got little legs, so he wants to get the grapes.
Се опитва да
But he can't get the grapes because the grapes are hanging high. And he's short legs.
Защото той е много къси крачета и гроздето е високо.
So he says, oh, it's all sour, it's all bad.
Това така или иначе, това грозде е кисело.
And not only is he satisfied by making that
Не
statement,
само той е доволен,
but he wants to ruin it for everybody else.
но не само това, той се опитва да развали удоволствието на
Also
другите.
persons who commit suicide
Другите хората,
and who
които
make that
извършват
statement
самоубийство,
that this body is terrible and I don't want a body,
това тяло е ужасно,
they
аз
have
не искам
to
тяло,
suffer
те трябва да
ghostly
страдат.
life.
Да страдат от този призрачен
Of course, they can also become liberated
Разбира се, те също
by the
могат да бъдат
mercy
освободени по
of a
милостта
Vaishnava.
на един Вайшнава.
as we have
Както
seen in different places of our tradition,
места в нашата традиция.
that Vaishnavas are so merciful, they're so kind that they liberate
Те
even
освобождават дори
persons who are
личности, които са
stuck in this ghostly situation.
които са заседнали в това.
Srila Prabhupada one time he rented one whole house for
цяла къща
just a few rupees
за няколко
because people knew it was ghostly haunted and nobody wanted to live there.
свърсталище на призраци.
But Prabhupada, he just performed kirtan in every room and he said that took care of the ghosts and then he had a nice place to live for cheap.
място да живее.
So also when they were looking for Lord Chaitanya who went missing, they found this fisherman who was all very, very
един рибар, който
agitated,
много плашен.
and he thought that he had been possessed by a ghost
Той си мислил, че е обладан от дух.
because he's fishing at night and he's
Защото той е ловял риба през нощта.
killing animals,
И убивал животни.
and then he saw this amazing creature and he caught in his net and he touched it and he felt like an electric shock in his body and he felt like he was possessed. He started chanting and chanting and chanting and then he remembered, okay, yeah, I chant the Nishinga mantra, so that will counteract the influence of ghosts. But whenever he chanted the Nishinga mantra, then that force became even stronger. So he was very, very afraid. So he met Swarup Damodar and the Vaishnavas, and he said, and they were looking for Lord Chaitanya, and he was so agitated, he could hardly speak. And he said, no, I have wife, I have children, I have to feed them. I have to go find an exorcist. And Swarup Damodar said, don't worry, I'm an exorcist. I can cure your problem.
си реша проблема.
So he just put one hand on top of his body, of his head, and then he slapped him a few times.
Шляпна няколко пъти, ударил няколко шамара.
And he said, okay, now it's okay. The ghost has left. You're good.
Сега е добре, вече духа е...
By the way, it's not a ghost. This is Lord Chaitanya. And please show us where he is.
Това е Бог Чайтания.
Because
Той
we're missing him a lot.
Да.
So, devotees are in knowledge about what is going on in this world
Преданите знаят какво се случва в този свят.
because they're following
Те
Shastra.
следват шастра.
I was on a plane from Georgetown, Guyana, to Port of Spain, Trinidad.
До Порто Спейн, Тринидад.
And an Indian gentleman next to me,
Индийски джентлмен.
he was watching me read Shastra.
Ме гледаше как чете шастра.
And after a while, he started chuckling.
Той започна се киска.
And he said, you know, it's funny that,
И каза, това е много
did you know that you can't become a Hindu if you're not born a Hindu?
че ти не можеш да станеш хинду, ако не си роден хинду.
And I said, really?
Аз казах, наистина ли?
How come?
Как така?
And he started saying, well, you know, tradition and grandma and this and that and the other thing. And
бабата, прабабата.
everybody knows this and this is how it is. And he went on and on and on,
Той
just happy hearing the sound of his own voice.
И той продължи да говори, наслаждавайки се.
Till at one point he said,
докато в един момент каза,
actually,
всъщност,
I don't know.
аз не знам.
And I said, that's the first true thing that you ever said in the last 10 minutes.
И аз му казах, това е първата истина, която ти каза през последните 10 минути.
And I, Jai Shishi Jagannath Baladev Subhadevi ki Jai Shishi Gonitai ki Jai, he said, Buj ki Jai. And I quoted a couple of verses that it's guna and karma. It's according to your activities and your qualities, not according to birth.
Гуна и карма, не съгласно твоето раждане.
And he decided that philosophical discussion is not really what he signed up for. So he went back to eating his hamburger with his girlfriend.
И той тогава реши, че това философска дискусия не му се занимава с нея. Продължи да си яде хамбургер със своята приятелка.
Nunam pramata kurute vikarma yat indriya pritaya aprinoti nasadu manyayat atmanoyam asana pikleshada asade. This is not the way how to ascertain knowledge.
Това не е начинът, по който се установява знание.
This is not the way how to attain happiness. This is not the way how to attain the supreme goal.
Върховната цел.
So, the devotees are very fortunate because we can follow guidance. We can take shelter in the instructions of our acharyas. We can follow Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. But if we don't have appreciation for Guru, for Sadhu and for Shastra, if we take ourselves to be the embodiment of wisdom, some people say, I know everything. Some people say, I know this all. I've heard this all. I've seen this. Yes, I watched this video on YouTube. Have you met people who are educated in the University of YouTube? And it's exceedingly difficult to even talk common sense to them. Because they're possessed, like someone who's possessed by a ghost. And unless you perform the exorcism, which takes a bit of energy, it takes a bit of effort to do that, it's difficult to actually help them. So, the devotees are well-wishing friends of all living entities. And they make this antidote, this antidote against this ignorance, avidya, the serpent has bitten them, and thus they are polluted. Their whole intelligence is gone. Their mind and senses have become contaminated by this ignorance, this misconception, nirvishesha, shunyavadi, this idea of everything is nothing and everything is one. So Prabhupada came to dispel that. Paschatya desha tarine. And that's why he traveled the world countless times to spread this knowledge. Because this knowledge was also polluting India. And he saw that people were so much enamored by all these different ideologies, some of them spiritual, some of them pseudo-spiritual, some of them just political or outright mundane. And they had become captivated by these different types of schools of thought. That he saw that this is not going to work. People are too preoccupied with nationalism, with tribalism, and with all different types of isms. So he went to the place where people were already done and gone with all of that. We call them goners, you know. They're gone. They have moved on. They have already left all that behind. And now it's like postmodernism. It's not even anymore nihilism. It's just give me anything. I'll try anything because I'm so much in pain. And that's a good state where to start Krishna consciousness. Yesterday I met a young man from Egypt. And he's working in tech, and he's been in Bulgaria for 3 years. And he started a new life here. And I asked him, why? Why Bulgaria? It sounds pretty drastic from a guy from Egypt. And he said, well, you know, my girlfriend, terrible breakup, she left me. And I decided it's time for a new chapter. And I came here. So sometimes tragedy or pain can be a good catalyst, can be a good instigator to actually move on and look for other things. And if a person is a little bit sincere, a little bit inquisitive, then there is that window of opportunity. It's called smashana vairagya, you know, the detachment at the burning god. When Ram Nam Satyahe is over and the skull has been smashed, everything is burned, everything is kaput, and people just stand around, whoa, that's a wonderful time. That's that moment when the devotees, they should appear with the transcendental message. Just like when Daksha was bereaved because his 10,000 and 1,000 sons, the Haryashvas and the Shavalashvas, they both got liberated by the instructions of Narada Muni. And he was so upset. He was besides himself with grief and pain and disappointment. And Narada Muni appeared because he thought this is a window of opportunity. He's in extreme distress, and this is a perfect opportunity to give him transcendental knowledge. Of course, first he got cursed, but Narada Muni accepted that curse because he knew that the only way to benefit this person is to take some of his grief, show him compassion, to suffer with him, to take his grief, even to take his curse. And then by that moment association, at some point, he will become inquisitive. He will become curious. I remember in former times he used to go and distribute books in hospitals. And some of us were just distributing outside on the parking lot, and some would actually go inside. And one devotee told me that they were going into the room, you know, where they change, and they would put on the doctor's vest, you know, and with that white jacket on, they would go room to room, meeting patients and distributing books to all the sick people in the hospital. You can say quite an achievement, quite a feat, so to speak. But the Vaishnavas are kind, so they're looking for opportunities where to insert Krishna into the conversation.
Да включат Кришна в разговора.
And sometimes you can do it very directly, and sometimes you have to be a little more discreet.
Дискретен.
Like sometimes you walk up to people. Yesterday I met two drunks. They were both young, educated, working class people, but obviously drunk and still in the process of continuing their sadhana. And I started talking to them, and they said, "But what what are you trying to do? What are you trying to sell? What are you trying to preach to us?" Because they immediately saw the books under my arm. So we just did a little exercise to make them a little more sober, a little more aware. So I told them, "So you look like educated and intelligent gentlemen," and they had to agree.
Те казаха ми, те трябваше да се съгласят с това.
So I said, "So you know how to read?" "Yes." "You know how to write?" "Yes." "You know how to count?" "Yes."
Да броите? Да.
Did you learn how to think?
Научите ли се как да мислите?
What is he talking about? So I asked them, "What does thinking mean?"
Аз ви питах, какво означава да мислиш?
And that sobered them up quite fast.
Изтрезни ги.
I said, thinking means you're able to ask relevant questions. I know that I got books under my arm. I know that I have a mission. But if you only know what your senses tell you, what you can see, then you know very little. Look up in the sky. The sun is up there. You cannot see it. And tomorrow is going to rain. The plants are going to be happy. The animals are going to be happy. And the humans, they're never really happy and they're never really sad. So, do you want to continue this game? Or do you want to upgrade your level of understanding and your level of consciousness? So, because they were already inebriated, they were already... Their false ego and their intelligence had already been clouded sufficiently, so they didn't put up much of a fight. They were not, putting up too much resistance. They thought, okay, let's choose the lesser of two evils. Either he's going to chastise us some more, or let's just get the book and make a donation. I had another person. He's an event manager. He was dressed like heavy metal guy. He looked like a rough guy. And I asked him, "Have you mastered your mind?" And that just hit him right there. And I said, I asked him, "What's your goal?" And that's a hard one to answer. So then he looked at the book and he said, "Actually, self-realization. This is my goal."
И той каза, погледна книгата и каза, всъщност, моята цел е себепознание.
And he gave me $50.
Той ми даде 50 лева.
Because he realized that actually this is what it's all about. Atato Brahma Jigyasa.
Разбра, че това е всъщност целта.
It's time to actually inquire about what is really happening here.
Какво всъщност се случва тук?
Otherwise we will always be operating under fear or under profit, or at best sometimes a little dutiful. But we'll never really access higher forms of knowledge. And the same is true in Krishna consciousness. What is my motivating factor? Why am I here? Why am I going to the morning program? Why do I chant Hare Krishna? Why do I read Prabhupada's books? Why do I do anything what I do? Because of fear? Or because I'm looking for, freedom of suffering, liberation, nirvana? Or because I have a little bit of sense of duty? Just like when we realize, just like the Gop Kumar, he had received this mantra from his guru, and he continued chanting this mantra even though he was going all throughout the universe and experiencing all kinds of pretty amazing stuff. He kept chanting the mantra. Why? Because he did not want to be ungrateful towards his benefactor, that that
своя
person who just
доброжелател, този,
came out of
който
nowhere
дошъл
and out of
от никъде,
pure mercy and compassion just dropped this mantra
от милост и
on him
състрадание, му дал тази
and
мантра.
took off.
И си тръгнал.
So, just because he felt so much gratitude, he felt so much obliged, he did not want to be ungrateful. So he continued chanting the mantra. Even though he didn't really know what was going on, how he was doing this journey, and how all these realizations were coming upon him. But he knew, I got a gift. And if I want to keep this gift, I have to continue appreciating it. And thus, he kept on chanting. So we see, sometimes we meet devotees, and they say, yeah, I was a devotee, and I distributed books, I did this, I did that. But then you see, they stop chanting, they stop following, they stop associating, and then they're at best little shantaras, like, okay, you're okay people, but you're okay over there, and I'm okay over here. Like we met this other fellow in that Petrich, what's the town we went? Petrich? Petrich, yeah. And Pandava looked at him and said, but you're a devotee, Hare Krishna. And we just met some random guy on the street.
Пандава просто го видя и каза, ти си правоверен, Харе Кришна.
I said, yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So you're coming for the program? Yeah, we'll see.
На програмата.
He didn't show up.
И не дойде.
I was on a flight from Panama to Costa Rica. And there was one young man coming down the aisle. And I could see Tavarish, So I said, Kak dila? And he was like, shocked. And then he looked at me and he said, Haribol, Hare Krishna. Then I was shocked. So I said, where are you from? He said, Kazan. He said, I lived in the temple for 2 years. And I said, how did you like all the noise from the trains? Because the temple is right next to the train station where, all the trains are constantly pulling in and out. And so we had a little chat. I asked him what he's doing. He said, I'm on a vacation. I'm, going hiking and, seeing nature and a few different things. So I said, so you're coming for the Sunday feast? He said, probably not. I'm on vacation. So it's not enough to have knowledge. You have to have gratitude. Gratitude is a manifestation of our appreciation and also of our humility, that we understand I've been gifted something very extraordinary, and if I want to keep it, I have to keep on appreciating it by my practice, and that means by internalizing it, by applying myself to this practice on a moment-to-moment, on a day-to-day basis, and by sharing it with others. There's a saying, use it or lose it. Have you noticed? If you don't practice your shlokas, they leave you, they disappear, they just take off somewhere. If you don't exercise your body, atrophy sets in and your body again gets sucked into the mainframe and re-amalgamated with the general elements. And how if you're not actively pursuing sadhana and also jivadoya, showing compassion to others, then how your own compassion and your own taste and your own appreciation decreases and diminishes. To the point where you cannot really anymore ascertain what is what. And you're again in the material soup. The primordial soup That's why we say blooping, because
Първоначалната
bloop,
чорба.
bloop
Казваме
is that
bloop,
sound
bloop,
when something bloop,
защото това е звукът, който
it
нещо
drops
пада
into the water.
в
Bloop.
водата. И казва
That's
bloop.
why he blooped.
И затова това означава, че еди кой си е
But the
блупнал.
devotees are so merciful.
Но
One time,
преданниците са толкова милостиви.
a devotee was a former servant of Srila Prabhupada,
Един
came to the
преданник,
temple when Prabhupada was there.
Бивш слуга на Прабхупад. И той
Prabhupada was
там,
very
Прабхупад
happy
бил
to
там.
see him.
Прабхупад бил много щастлив да го види.
And he said, cook for
И му
me.
казал, сготви нещо за мен.
And the devotee said, Prabhupada,
И той казал,
he's not following anything.
бак ти казваме, той не следва нищо.
He's eating meat, he's
Прабхупад, той
doing
яде месо
intoxication.
и пуши, и пие.
Prabhupada said,
Прабхупад
cook for
казал,
me.
"Нищо,
So,
сготви ми нещо.
so he asked the devotee to cook for him because
И той помолил преданника да сготви нещо.
he wanted to
Защото
appreciate
искал
him
да-
and to give him, how do you appreciate someone? You give him service opportunity.
Как оценяваш някой, като му даваш
You
възможност
give
за
him
служене?
service opportunity.
Той му дава възможност да му служи.
You can only get service from a devotee.
Ти можеш да получиш служене само от правилно даден.
Otherwise,
Иначе-
sometimes people, they
Някои хората
come in touch with devotees and they think, oh, I'm going to help.
контакт с правилно даден и ти казват, аз ще
Like
помогна.
one time we were distributing prasad with Adi at Tompkins Square Park,
С Ади на Томпкинс Сквер парк.
and they were filming there on that street. They were doing recording, some film shooting was happening. So the big director, he came out of his big motorhome,
Режисьор дойде от неговата
and he
каравана.
saw us distributing prasadam. There was a long line of people. There was quite an action going on.
Опашка от хора.
And he thought,
И той си каза,
what they're doing, I can do that also.
това, което те правят, аз също мога да го направя.
So he took whatever was left over from their catering, all unmentionable things, and he took those trays and he started walking on the street and going up to people and saying, here, for you. And everybody went like...
И от неговия кетеринг там, като беше станал всички тия недопустими неща, той почна да ги разпространява на хората и те се дърпаха обаче.
And
Той си
he was
каза,
really shocked
аз мога да правя каквото
because he
той бил
thought,
напълно
I'm the
шокиран.
kind, well-wishing friend of all
Той
living
си мисли, че
entities.
аз съм най-добрият приятел на всички живи същества.
But people,
А те всъщност
they were repulsed. They
бяха-
were not
те
in
не
compliance.
искаха.
And I realized,
Never
Shruti
to-
Smriti Puranadi Pancharatrika Vidimvina Aikanteke Haryar Bhaktir Upataya Vakalpate. If we don't follow Shruti Smriti,
Шрути Смрити.
and what the sadhus have given us by their own realization,
Техните реализации.
will simply cause a disturbance.
Просто
Even in the name of doing the good thing, you'll actually do a bad thing.
Притеснение. Опитвайки се да правим нещо добро, ще правим нещо лошо.
As we can see, people have turned away from organized religion
Са се отвратили от организираната религия.
because things were done in an exploitative, in an arrogant, in an ignorant way.
Беше експлоататорски начин.
People don't have a problem with God or with spirituality, but they have a problem being cheated, being exploited, and being kept in
Но
ignorance.
те не искат да бъдат мамени, да бъдат експлоатирани, да бъдат държани.
And that's why practically monarchy is abolished
Монархията е
and
унищожена.
institutionalized religion is for the most part
Институционализираната религия е също
not so popular.
не е толкова популярна вече.
But then, of course, two wrongs don't make a right.
Но, разбира се, две погрешни неща.
Then people go from bad to worse.
Хората
Then,
от лошо отиват към още по-лошо.
at least in organized religion, there was
В организираната религия
some semblance of piety, there was some semblance of tradition, some semblance of higher aspiration.
от по-висша цел.
But then things get really bad. Then they follow these self-styled gurus and yogis and swamis and charlatans
пълни шарлатани,
who will convince them of all kind of erroneous
ги
ideologies.
убеждават в най-различни погрешни идеологии.
And then they become so disappointed,
Те
fed up and
стават
fried
толкова разочаровани,
that
че
they just want to become nothing.
искат да станат нищо.
I just don't want to feel the pain anymore.
Аз просто не искам да усещам болката.
I met a lady, she had just made her PhD in Germany,
тя, която беше завършила своето PhD в Германия.
and she was strange. She was strange. You know, she was intelligent, but she was very strange.
Но беше много странна.
And I asked her, what's wrong with
И
you?
аз попитах, какъв е проблема?
She took a book, but she was very strange. And she said, I can't sleep.
Тя ми каза, не мога да спя.
I have so much anxiety.
Имам толкова много тревоги.
I'm so stressed. I can't
Стрес,
sleep.
не мога да спя просто.
I'm like, you're young, you're intelligent, you got a PhD.
Млада, интелигентна, имаш PhD.
She opened her backpack, she took out a big box, she said, sleeping pills.
И каза, ето това са всички.
All the time. I just want to go home now. I need to go sleep.
Сънотворни. Искам да отида вкъщи и просто да спя.
I can't stand the pain. I can't stand the anxiety.
Не мога да търпя повече тая болка и тая тревога.
So that's the state where people are in.
Това е състоянието на хората.
So I met another bunch of young people, and they were very rambunctious and very energetic,
Срещнах други млади хора.
and not paying much attention.
Много енергия.
So I told them,
много внимание. Аз ги питах.
so are you trying to kill yourself right now or just a little bit over a prolonged period of
И ги
time?
питах, сега ли искате да се убиете или да го продължите малко този процес на убиване?
It's the same thing. It's just in a different method, you know.
Просто different.
So they started paying a little bit attention.
И те почнаха да малко да.
So sometimes we have to use this method of Swarup Damodar Goswami that you verbally give people a little bit of a slap.
Малко да ги ушамариш хората.
But the attitude has to be compassion. The attitude has to be, I want to help you. Not, I want to push you down. I want to prove how great I am. I want to see you suffer more. No. One time Prabhupada was asked, why have you come here? We have religion, we have culture, we have philosophy. Prabhupada said, I came here to give you a brain.
И Прабхупад каза, дошъл съм тук да ви дам мозък.
One time a reporter in England asked Prabhupada, what is your perception of hell?
Какво е вашето разбиране за ада?
Prabhupada said, London is hell.
Прабхупад каза, Лондон е ада за мен.
And he let it sink in a little bit, and the guy was taken aback, to say the least. But then Prabhupada softened the blow by adding that it is to the great credit of the British people that they have created such a great civilization in such a hostile climate, in such a hostile environment.
Прабхупад казал, това е голямо постижение на британските хора, че са създали такава велика цивилизация в такива неблагоприятни климатични условия.
The surgeon can apply the scalpel because he's trained and he's very diligent, he's very conscious.
Може да реже с скалпел, понеже той е обучен и той е много осъзнат и много внимателен.
He's not acting out of pride, out of false ego.
Потикван от гордост или от фалшиво.
Otherwise, operation successful, patient dead.
Операцията ще бъде успешна, а пациентът мъртъв.
I told him everything.
Аз му казах всичко.
And he never came back.
И той никога не се върна.
So, the goal of our preaching, the goal of our book distribution, the goal of our outreach is that people want to meet us again.
Че хората да искат да ни срещат отново.
They're just thinking, when can I meet this wonderful person again? Where can I meet them?
Къде мога да срещна отново този прекрасен човек?
That's the indicator, that's the yardstick. Not my false ego. Oh, I kicked him in the head. Oh, I beat him over the head. Oh, I told him all the things. No. But is this person willing to again interact with devotees? That's the criteria. So we have to follow our acharyas. We have to follow Srila Prabhupada's example, who is an ocean of mercy, friend of the poor, Lord and Master of all the devotees. Hari Om Tat Sat. Questions, comments, or reflections? Sorry, we didn't talk about, Kundalini, and we didn't talk about the 5 types of airs. But you already know all that, and otherwise you know where to look it up. Yes.
I like this point very much, that if you express appreciation to someone by giving him service opportunity.
Yeah. Yes, you appreciate them because you see there is potential. You see this person has capacity. That's appreciation. That's empowerment. Otherwise, we just treat people as as economic units. What can I get from you? Okay, how much? Like we were in in a marketplace in Lagos, Nigeria,
Бяхме на един
doing
пазар в
Harinam and
Лагос,
Bhakti Distribution.
Нигерия.
And the crowd was
Yeah.
moving in on us, you know, and some were like, you know,
И тълпата ни обграждаше и...
white man, very tasty.
О, бели хора, много вкусно.
So, yeah, how are we treating people?
Как се държим с хората?
Do we just see, okay, what can I get from you, or what can I get out of you, or
Какво мога да
how can I
получа?
use you
Как
for
мога
my
да
own
те
interest?
използвам за моя собствен интерес?
Or do we really want to empower them and say, okay, there is
Или
potential here,
Наистина
I'm
искаме
going to
да ги
help you
упълномощим. Има потенциал.
to be the best,
Аз ще ти помогна да станеш
the best
най-добрият.
servant
Най-добрият
of
слуга.
Krishna, better than I could ever be.
По-добър от мен искам да те
That was
направя.
Prabhupada's attitude. That was his mood.
Настроението на Прабхупада е било.
That's the mood of the gopis.
Това е настроението на
And that
гопите.
mood attracts Krishna,
това
Krishna's
настроение привлича
attention,
Кришна.
Krishna's intervention.
Неговото...
Krishna Shakti Vinanahitara Pravartana. Krishna is the doer. Message to all
Кришна е
former, present, and future
Извършител.
incarnations of Bhakti Distribution and of
послание към
preaching and
всички,
writing and whatnot. Krishna is the
минали,
doer.
настоящи и бъдещи инкарнации на Санкиртана. Кришна е вършителят.
Just don't get in the way. Just don't
Просто не му
obstruct.
пречи.
Just let Krishna do the magic.
Нека Кришна...
That guy from
магията.
Egypt,
Тази
at some point,
човек от Египет,
he realized,
той разбра.
he looked at me, he said, you know, I
Знаеш ли,
came here to look for a change, to look for something
аз
different.
дойдох тук за да търся някаква промяна, нещо различно.
I think I know why I have met you.
Знам защо те срещнах тебе.
But you have to let people come to their own
Но трябва да
conclusions.
оставиш хората да стигнат до тяхното собствено
Not-
заключение, а не
I will tell you how it is.
сега ще ти кажа как.
I am the Savior.
Аз съм Спасителят.
No. His divine grace. Whose grace is it? It's Krishna's grace.
Чия милост е това? Това е милостта на Кришна.
As soon as we think, I'm the preacher, I'm the
В момента,
teacher,
в който си
I'm
мислим, аз
the
съм
authority,
проповедника, авторитета, учителя.
we stand in the way.
Ние пречим.
We're obstructing.
Пречим.
Like Vishaka, who told one illustrious Swami that right now you can see Prabhupada very well, but if you step aside and let me do my service, then the whole world can see Prabhupada.
Казва един свами, сега ти можеш да видиш много добре Прабхупад, но ако отстъпиш и ми дадеш възможност аз да снимам, тогава целият свят ще види Прабхупад. She made a good point.
She made a good point, yeah, she made a good point. Because as a photographer, you only have one moment to make a point, so she made her point.
Един момент, който
And
може да
because the
направиш
Swami was intelligent, he
Защото
understood and he
Свами бил
complied.
интелигентен и той разбрал и той послушал.
But sometimes we think, no,
Някой си мисли,
I want
не,
a cookie and I want to eat
Аз
it
искам
and I want to do things the way I want to do it.
бисквитката, искам да изям.
And then it's just going to
искам да
take a
направя
longer
нещата,
time.
както аз ги правя. И тогава просто отне повече време. I like the point that only devotees give service. If you want service, only devotees can give service. Otherwise,
Others don't know what is pleasing. Others don't know what is,
Другите
you
не
know,
знаят кое е удовлетворяващо. Те не знаят
what is actually beneficial.
кое всъщност е полезно.
And there's so much malefic charity and malefic
Има толкова много вредна, така наречена благотворителност
altruism
и алтруизъм,
and other
вреден алтруизъм
isms going on.
и всеки видове изми, които са
It
вредни.
creates harm. It creates
Те
more
създават проблеми,
disturbance.
създават повече притеснения. повече
Just like we were at the border
като
between
бяхме на границата
Ukraine
между Украйна и
and Moldova.
Молдова.
And,
И
you know, corridor, it means tension, a lot of
много
tension.
напрежение.
And somebody from the EU had
Някой
the
от
brilliant idea
Европейския съюз
to drop a big concrete toilet block right there
прекрасната идея
at
да
that
сложи
border area,
една тоалетна там.
because they thought, you know, we have to provide sanitation, right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
good
yeah.
idea, right?
Трябва да служим на хората, трябва да има някаква тоалетна. Добра идея.
But then there was no maintenance.
Но няма поддръжка.
And I'm not going to go into details.
Yeah,
That's
but
all
we-
I'm going to say.
Да ви давам
There was no
детайли.
maintenance.
Няма да ви дам детайли.
So instead of hygiene, the place turned into exactly the opposite.
И
And everything was broken, everything
Хигиена,
was destroyed, everything was full of
точно
garbage,
обратното.
and no more details before breakfast.
Няма повече детайли. Да
But
ви давам.
it would have been better if people would just go out into nature.
Хората отидат просто в природата.
So in the name of doing the good thing,
в името на правиш нещо добро,
the opposite happens.
обратното се случва.
If there is no real,
Ако няма истинско,
no real vision.
истинска визия.
So we have to think it through when we do
обмисляме нещата.
devotional service. Okay.
Правилно служение.
Okay, we're going out. We're going to go into Shivi books. People are going to show up here.
Хората ще
So,
дойдат.
do we want that?
Искаме ли го това? Хората, които дойдат тук.
Can we receive people?
Може ли да посрещнем те?
Can we, sometimes people say, okay, where's your temple? You say, no temple, no temple. Don't go. Don't go there. Don't even look it up.
И аз казвам, няма храм. Изобщо не гледай.
Because it's a no service zone.
Защото едно сервис зона. Няма служене.
And that's not about this place or about any place. It's just if there are no people who are willing consciously to empower others and to give them service. Otherwise they'll just be exploited. They'll just be used as economic units.
Ще бъдат използвани като икономически единици.
They will not really get
няма да получат също
that experience that you're supposed to get when you come in contact with Krishna consciousness. Now someone may say, but this is a very drastic, a very rash statement. No, we have seen from practical experience. That's why you can only get service from a devotee who has that attitude of empowering others. Otherwise he'll say, no, this is my service. Don't even try. Don't even come close. Huh? And then you go like, whoa, hey, cool down. What happened? Like, breathe, relax. I think there's enough service for everybody. But when you see a mood of loving cooperation, of come, do the artik, dress the deities, cook, help. Not just, give the money and get lost. Like it is in so many places and in so many organizations. So this is a movement of empowerment. Are you feeling empowered?
Чувствате ли се така упълномощени?
Are you empowering others?
Упълномощавате ли другите?
These are the questions we should be asking ourselves.
Трябва да си задаваме на себе си.
Otherwise we'll always be stuck in fear mode and profit mode, or at best in, I'm doing my duty. Prabhu, I'm just doing my duty. We have to follow. Yeah, but if you don't understand, you follow the letter of the law, but you don't understand the meaning, the purpose of the law, then again, you'll do the wrong thing. One time Jayananda Prabhu, he had stolen a pair of pants. So he was in front of the judge. And the judge asked him, my dear sir, why did you steal? It's $5 for a pair of pants.
Защо ги откраднат? Те са просто 5 лева струват. Те обувки. Защо ги откраднат?
10 лева, $5. So,
тези панталони, те струват 10 лева.
So Jayananda, under tears, he was saying, in tears, he was saying, I cannot spend God's money on myself.
И той казал, не мога да похарча парите на Бог за себе си.
So the judge took out his wallet, gave $5 to the shopkeeper, and he said, it's okay, you can go. You can both go. It's fine, let him go.
И тогава съдията извадил $5 и дал на собственика на магазина от своите пари и казал, освободете го.
According to the letter of the law, he deserves to be punished. He deserves to be put in jail. We have to put an example here. This is wrong.
Това е погрешно, съгласно буквата на закона.
But because the judge was a wise man and he understood, this is a saint.
Wise man. Мъдър човек. И той разбира, това е свят човек пред мен.
So he followed the spirit of the law.
И той следвал духа на закона.
And he found the solution.
И той открил.
So the shopkeeper was happy.
И магазинера бил
Jayananda was happy, he was
Jayananda
happy.
бил
Everybody went home happy.
щастлив. Всички отишли вкъщи доволни.
But sometimes we follow the letter of the law and
понякога-
everybody's not happy
Ние следваме буквата на закона и никой не е щастлив.
because we're not doing the right thing.
Защото не правим,
Because we haven't understood
защото не сме разбрали
what is the right thing and what does
кое
Krishna want us to do.
правилното нещо и какво Кришна иска от нас да направим.
And for that we need to go a little deeper. We
Is
can't
that-
stay on the externals, on the,
Ние
oh
трябва-
yeah, I am dutiful, I am respectful,
Малко по-дълбоко
I am
трябва да
humble, I am
стигнем
obedient, but
на
inside
повърхността.
we have this monster, you know, who's
Да, аз съм
boiling, you know,
Покорен, аз изпълнявам
not
дълга,
just five,
но вътре
not
имам
just a
това
snake with 5 heads, but you know,
чудовище, което просто
the big Kaliya, you know,
не
is
просто
ready to bite and to incinerate and to
змия с 5 глави,
to exploit
една огромна калия змия, която
anything
готова
and
да-
everyone that comes
хапне,
my way.
да
And wherever I move, there is a
наверява
big trail of
всеки,
destruction
който дойде.
on the way.
Където да се движи, има една огромна следа от разрушение.
So, we're just working up an appetite here. Questions, comments, or reflections? Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai Gaura.
Jai.